So hello everyone, welcome back to the session. So in the last class we have discussed about this long answer question in the second year. Okay, so we have completed one chapter, that is body fluids and circulation. Okay, so in today's class we are going to discuss about the long answer questions in the excretion chapter. Okay, so excretory products with their elimination and also human reproductive system. Okay, so in today's class we are going to complete both the lessons long answer questions. Okay, so the first lesson will be the excretory products with their elimination. And first question, the describe the excretory system of man giving the structure of a nephron. Right, human excretory system. The human excretory system will be the subheading. You have to use this, and it is generally composed of what the human excretory system is composed of. So it consists of a pair of kidneys, which means two kidneys. We are having right and left kidneys. Okay, a pair of kidneys, a pair of ureters from both the kidneys, and the urinary bladder. There is only one urinary bladder and it will ends with the urethra. So these are all the parts of the human excretory system. Okay, so what is kidney? Okay, what is their anatomy? So what will be the shape and color of the kidney? So it will be in the reddish brown. It will be in the reddish brown, and it is bean shaped organ. Okay, so it is a bean shaped organ, and location of the kidney will be, it is situated on the either side of the vertebral column in the retroperitoneal position. So this is an important thing, behind the peritoneum. So as it is behind the peritoneum, we are calling this as the retroperitoneal position. Okay, so it is situated in the either side of the vertebral column. Now vertebral level, so it is present in which vertebrae? Okay, so it is extend from the last thoracic vertebrae through to the third lumbar vertebrae. Okay, so from the last thoracic vertebrae to the third lumbar vertebrae. So this is what the exact position of this kidney. Okay, what is the special feature? So the right kidney is slightly lower than the left because of the liver. See this is the right kidney, and this is the left kidney. Okay, so this right kidney is little bit lower. Okay, so when compared to the left kidney, why? Because of the liver is present here. Okay, so that is why because of the position of the liver, the right kidney is little bit lower when compared to the left kidney. Now see, this is what a kidney. Okay, so this is a kidney bean shaped and a pair of kidneys. So this is what an ureter, and this is an ureter, a pair of ureters from both the kidneys, and this is an urinary bladder, and this end point is called as an urethra. So urethra, urinary bladder, and the ureter, kidney. Okay, so inside the kidney, before that there is an important gland called the adrenal gland. Adrenal gland, which is present in the present above the kidney. Okay, so suprarenal position, suprarenal gland. So that is why, as it is present above the kidney, we are calling this particular adrenal gland as the suprarenal gland. Okay, supra means superior position, renal means it refers to kidney. So this is a gland, so this is why we are calling this particular gland as the suprarenal gland, as it is present above the kidney. Okay, so now, so there is a renal artery and renal vein will be there, and this is what a inferior vena cava, and this structure is called as a pelvis. The inner side is called as a medulla, and outer side is called as a cortex. So these are all an important thing. So this structure is called as the dorsal aorta. Okay, so this is the cross-sectional view. Just look at this. So this is, it's look like a pyramid, so we are calling this as the medullary pyramid. Okay, so below the medullary pyramid, we are having a structure. This is called as a calyx. Okay, so this artery is called as a renal artery. Okay, so and this structure is called as a renal vein. Okay, so this space is called as a pelvis region. Okay, so in this structure we know that is an ureter, and between these two medullary pyramid, the intermediate space is called as a renal column. Okay, so the outer structure is called as a cortex. Okay, and it is covered by, the kidney is covered by a renal capsule. Okay, so these are all an important structures of the kidney, right? Now, what will be the external features of the kidney? Okay, so the shape of the surfaces. See, the outer surface is convex. Okay, so the outer surface is convex. The inner surface has the deep notch that is called as a hilum. Okay, so the inner shape is called as a deep notch, which is called as a hilum. What will be the hilum function? Okay, so this is an entry point. So we have studied that. So this is where the renal artery is entering. Okay, where we can see the hilum. So that structure is called as an hilum. So it is acting as an entry point for the renal artery, and also the nerves, and the exit point for the renal vein and the ureter. So the entry point and the exit point will be done in the through the structure called the hilum. So this is what a function of the hilum. Now, the protective covering. So each kidney is enclosed by a tough fibrous capsule that protects its delicate inner tissues. So there is a covering, which is we are calling them as the capsule. So that is what capsule. Why it has to enclosed by this capsule? Because to protect the inner soft tissues. Okay. So now, so internal structure of the kidney. So what are all the internal structure of the kidney? Okay. So we are having the cortex and the medulla. So in the internal structure, the outer region is called as a cortex and the inner deep region is called as a medulla. Okay, so we have studied the structure called the medullary pyramids. Okay, medullary pyramids, that is nothing but the inner region, it is divided into a renal pyramids. Okay, so it is a cone shaped masses. I have shown you the picture. So so this is what a cortex and medulla. The medulla gives rise to a renal pyramids. Now, what is renal pyramids? It is separated by a columns of Bettany. Okay, so this is nothing but a cortical projections. There is a projection. So this is a pyramid, and there is a projection. So this is called as a columns of Bettany. Okay, so what will be the base? At the base between the cortex and the medulla and the apex. Renal papillae, this protect into the minor calyces. Okay, so we have studied calyx and the pelvis. So what is calyces and pelvis? So the minor calyx unite to form the major calyx, which open into the renal pelvis. See, so the calyx region unite together, the minor calyxes unite together to form a major calyxes. Finally, the major calyxes is opening into the structure which is called as a renal pelvis. Okay, so the renal pelvis continues as an ureter. Okay, so which structure is continuing as an ureter? So that is nothing but a renal pelvis. So this region is continuing as an ureter, transporting urine to the bladder. Okay, so it is the one transporting the urine to the urinary bladder. Now, ureters. Okay, so how the ureters will looks like? So this is what a kidney. Now there is a structure which is opening into the urinary bladder. Okay, so this structure is called as an ureter. So it is slender whitish tubes that emerge from the renal pelvis of each kidney. From both the kidneys, the ureter is getting emerged. Okay, so it is lined up with which type of epithelium? That is called as a transitional epithelium. Okay, so this is the one conducts the urine. It is not going upwards, it is going downwards. So that is why it is conducting the urine downwards, and it is leaving all the urine in the urinary bladder. Right, now, what is urinary bladder? So this is a storage sac which is present in the lower abdominal cavity, temporary storehouse of urine. Okay, so the wall is very thick, muscular, distensible, and lined with the, again it will be the transitional epithelium. What will be the neck of the bladder? So this is the neck of the bladder. So this structure is called as an urethra. Okay, so this is an urethra. Okay, now what is urethra? There is a sphincter. So this is an important thing you have to keep in mind. Okay, so it is an internal urethral sphincter and external urethral sphincter. This internal urethral sphincter having the smooth muscle. Okay, and external urethral sphincter having the striated muscle. So this is very important. Okay. Now the opening, in case of females, it is near the vaginal orifice, and in the male, it will be through the penis. Okay, so this penis is the common structure for the excretion of the sperm as well as the urine. So both is it is the common pathway for both the urine as well as the sperm. Okay, so this is an important point. This can be frequently expected in the question. Now, so we have studied now the excretory system of man, but we have to study about the structure of nephron. Okay, nephron is the structural and functional unit of kidneys. This is the structural and functional units of the kidneys. About how many nephrons are present in kidney? So 1 million nephrons are present in the kidney. Okay, so what are all the parts of the nephron? Okay, so just listen to the picture. See here. So this is a nephron. So this structure is called as this inner structure is called as a glomerulus. Okay, so it is enclosed by a cup-like structure which is called as a Bowman's capsule or Bowman's cup. Okay, now this arteriole which is entering inside, it is called as an afferent arteriole, which is taking the blood away from the kidney. This is called as an efferent arteriole. Okay, so the tubule which is present near the glomerulus is called as a proximal convoluted tubule, which is present away from the glomerulus is called as a distal convoluted tubule. Okay, where all the urine part are getting collected in the collecting duct. Okay, so and this U-shaped structure is called as a Henle's loop. Okay, and this is an descending loop and this is an ascending loop. Okay, together we are calling them as the Henle's loop. So this is a descending loop, descending limb of the loop of Henle, and this is the ascending limb of the loop of Henle. Okay, so this Henle's loop is getting covered by the vasa recta. Okay, so this is what the structure of a nephron. Okay, so to be more precise, that is more specifically the glomerulus. So this is considered as a glomerulus. It is covered by a cup-like structure which is called as a Bowman's capsule, and near the Bowman's capsule we are having a tubule which is called as a proximal convoluted tubule. Okay, and we are having the arteriole which is taking the blood inside the kidney is called as an efferent. If it is taking away from the glomerulus, it is called as an efferent arteriole. So this is what a structure of a nephron. We are going to discuss each and every structure in detail. Okay, now, so renal corpuscle malphigian tubule. Okay, so malphigian body, it is considered as a renal corpuscle. So what is exactly the renal corpuscle? That is a malphigian body. It is composed of glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule. So the glomerulus and the Bowman's capsule together we are calling them as the renal corpuscle. Okay, so that is also called as the malphigian body. So here we are having a two arteriole which is called as an efferent arteriole and efferent arteriole. So afferent arteriole which brings the blood into the glomerulus, and from the glomerulus the blood is taken away, it is called as an efferent arteriole. Okay, and the cells which is present, see glomerulus is just filtering all the waste. So that is what a function of a kidney. Okay, filtering. Okay, so it is filtering the blood. So how it is filtering the blood? What is the specialized cells present in case of glomerulus? And that cells is called as the podocytes. So this is the podocytes. This is the one wrapping up the glomerular capillaries, forming the filtration slits. Okay, so who is responsible for filtration in case of kidney? The name of the cells is called as a podocytes. Now, the endothelial cells have fenestrations for filtration. So here, those cells are considered as an endothelial cells. Now, second part will be the renal tubule. So in the tubule we are having the proximal convoluted tubule and the loop of Henle. Okay, so in the Henle's loop we are having the descending and the ascending loop, and also we are having the distal convoluted tubule. Okay, see, proximal convoluted tubule, simply we can call them as a PCT. It is highly coiled. Okay, and this is present in the cortex region. So we have studied the cortex region and the medullary region in the kidney. Okay, so in the medullary region, the outer region is called as a cortex and the inner region is called as a medulla. So if the nephrons present in the cortex region, we are calling them as a cortical nephrons, and if it is present in the medullary region, we are calling them as the medullary nephrons. Okay, but so we have studying, we know the structure of nephron, and in the proximal convoluted tubule it is present in the cortex region, so we can call them as a cortical nephrons. Okay, so the loop of Henle, it is an hairpin shaped. See, it will be like this. Okay, it will be look like a hairpin shape, and there is a descending. So this is what a descending, and this is an ascending limb. It is present in the medulla region. So we are calling this particular region as a medullary nephrons. Okay, so there is a thin ascending loop. Gives rise to this thick ascending limb, continues to this distal convoluted tubule. Okay, so it is followed by this distal convoluted tubule. Okay, so here it will be PCT and here it will be DCT. Okay, so followed by the collecting duct. Now, so the third part will be the collecting duct. So the DCT, which means distal convoluted tubule, continues as an initial collecting duct. Many ducts unite together to form a common collecting duct that pass through the medullary pyramid. So this collecting duct is passing through this which structure? Medullary pyramid. Okay. So the collecting ducts joins to form the duct of Bellini. Okay, so collecting many collecting ducts together form a common duct, and we are calling them as the duct of Bellini. So opening at the renal papilla. Okay, so this is collecting at a renal papilla. Okay, so now, so you have to know that now what will be the location of the location in kidney. So in the location in kidney, so that is the renal corpuscle, which means the nephron parts, the parts of a nephron in the kidney. Okay, so that is what the location in kidney. So the renal corpuscle, proximal convoluted tubule and distal convoluted tubule will be in the cortex region, and the loop of Henle will be in the medullary region. Okay, so we are having two different types of nephrons. Okay, so we are having two types of nephrons. One is cortical nephron and another one is juxtamedullary nephrons. They are nothing but they are having a short loop of Henle, extends little into the medulla. Vasa recta will be absent or reduced because all the vasa recta will be developed in the medullary nephron. Okay, so here it will be long loop of Henle. Deep in the medullary region there will be a vasa recta because all the upper side will be in the cortex region. See, so these are all this is the nephron which is being the vertical stage, but it has to be in the glomerulus, which is surrounded by the proximal convoluted tubule, which is covered by the Bowman's capsule, followed by the proximal convoluted tubule, and here it will be the Henle's loop, and here it will be the DCT, distal convoluted tubule, and here it will be the collecting duct. So all these structure will be present in the cortex region, and the Henle's loop will be present in the medullary region. Okay, so that is what they have explained here as a cortical nephrons and the juxtamedullary nephrons. Okay. Now, what will be the blood supply? How the blood is getting supplied in the nephrons? So we are having two different types of arteriole, that is efferent arteriole. So efferent arteriole, there forms a peritubular capillaries which is surrounding the renal tubules. Okay, so the capillaries around the loop of Henle. So that is what we have studied. So this is the Henle's loop. So all will be covered by the, which is the capillaries. That capillaries we are calling them as the vasa recta. Okay, and it is present in the medullary nephrons, medullary region. So that is why we are calling them as the juxtamedullary nephrons. Okay. Now, so that's all about the excretory system. So in the excretory system, so this question is very important. Okay, so now we are going to move to the human reproductive system, another important chapter for the long answer questions. Okay, so the first question will be the female reproductive system of a woman with the help of the neat labeled diagram. Okay, so you have to draw a picture. A simplified picture is enough, and you have to give the parts marking properly. That is enough. Okay, so now the first, female reproductive system. What is the location of the female reproductive system? In the pelvis, that is the pelvic cavity. Okay, so what are all the parts present in the female reproductive system? Ovaries. Ovary is responsible for producing the ovum, as well as they are also producing some of the hormones we are going to study. So this ova is nothing but an egg cell, ovum. Okay, so egg. So the hormones which is also present, it is responsible for growth of this egg cell. Now, oviducts and fallopian tubes. Okay, so this oviducts is also called as a fallopian tubes, site of fertilization and transport of ovum or the zygote. See, the oviducts and the fallopian tube. This is an important location for the site of the fertilization. Okay, so the fertilization means a fusion of male and female gamete. That is a fertilization. So that is happening in the fallopian tubes, which is also called as the oviducts. Okay, so this is responsible for transporting the ovum or the zygote. Now, what is the uterus? Why the uterus is meant? What is the uterus is meant for? It is meant for the process of implantation and the fetal development. Okay, after the zygote has been formed, it has been transferred to an organ which is called as a uterus, where it is getting implanted, where the zygote is getting implanted. Okay, so there it is grown to a fetus. Now, cervix region. So there is a cervical canal. It is a part of the birth canal. So it is a birth canal, okay, through which the child can pass through. And vagina. So this is a copulatory organ, okay, where it is meeting the penis. Okay, so vagina is a copulatory organ, childbirth passage. The child is auto getting delivered through this vagina only. Now, external genitalia or the vulva. So, this external genitalia, this is a vulva. So, this vulva comprises labia, clitoris and hymen. All these structures is considered as an external genitalia. Okay, so accessory glands. So what are all, see, these are all the important structures. What are all the accessory glands? Anyhow, the word gland is also, it is meant for, it is anything, the structure which is going to secrete something. If there is a gland, it is going to secrete something. And what is the name of the glands? See, Bartholin's glands and Skene's glands. So this is the one responsible for the discharge. Okay, so that is the lubrication. For lubrication purpose. Okay, so the mammary glands is responsible for the lactation and for the child care. So all these are the parts coming under the female reproductive system. Okay, so this is the fallopian tube. Okay, so what is the functions? Okay, it has to ovulate. Ovulate means what? All the ovum which is present in the ovary has to come out. Okay, so the removal or the yes, that is what if the ovaries gave the ovum, okay, that is the egg out from the ovaries, that structure is called as an ovulation. Okay, so if that egg is fused with the sperm, that fusion process is called as a fertilization. As a result of fertilization, zygote is going to produce. Okay, so as a result of formation of the zygote, it has to implant somewhere. So and that implantation is taking place in the uterus. If it is implanted properly, so that is the scenario we can call them as the pregnancy. Okay, so after the pregnancy, after a gestation period, the child has to come out, and that phase is called as a parturition period. Okay, parturition, and after that we are going to carry the child through the mammary glands. Okay, so see, so this is an endometrium. Okay, so important structure where exactly the child is going to attach to it. That is implantation. Okay, so this is an endometrium. Okay, so the inner side is called as an endometrium, and the middle layer is called as a, which means the middle surface is called as a myometrium, and the outer layer is called as a perimetrium. Okay, so this is the endometrium. Endometrium is playing a crucial role in the pregnancy as well as in the menstrual cycle. Okay. Now, so this pathway is called as a cervical canal, and this structure is called as a cervix. Okay, and this structure is called as a vagina. Okay, and here we can see the ovary in both the side of the fallopian tube. Okay, so inside the ovary we can see the ovum. Okay, now so this finger like projections is called as a fimbriae. Okay, so see, this is a fimbriae, and below the above the fimbriae we can see the structure which is called as an infundibulum, which is a funnel shaped structure, and above the infundibulum we can see the ampulla region, and above between the uterine fundus and the ampulla we can see the structure which is called as an isthmus. See, this isthmus, ampulla and infundibulum together we are calling them as a fallopian tube. Okay, so this is the uterine fundus, the outer region, and the inner region is called as a cavity. This region is called as a cavity. We are calling them as a uterine cavity. So this is what the female reproductive system, and this diagram is very important. This is a simplified picture. Kindly draw in your exam. Okay. Now, what does ovaries? Okay, what is their exact function? Now, so the ovaries, this is a primary female sex organs that produce an ovum. Okay, so that is a ova. It is nothing but a female gametes. Okay, so the female gametes. So we have studied it is not only producing the ovum, but it is also producing the hormones. And what is the hormones? There is an estrogen and progesterone hormone. Okay. Now, so these ovaries is covered by a layer which is called as it is made an epithelial layer, germinal epithelium, and that structure is with a protective tunica albuginea. Okay, so tunica albuginea, it is a protective layer covering the ovaries. Okay, so now the ovaries has a outer cortex. The outer region is always called as a cortex, and the inner region is called as a medulla. So the cortex region we are calling them as a we are having this follicles in the outer region, that is in the cortex region. Now in the medulla, see, this follicles means primary follicles, secondary follicles, tertiary follicles. Finally, we are saying that is a Graafian follicle, mature Graafian follicle. So all these were the different stages of the follicles. All these will be present in the outer cortex region. Okay. Now, in the inner medullary region, we are having a blood vessels, a lymph, and the nerves. Okay, so all these blood vessels, lymph, and the nerves will be present in the inner medullary region. Right now, how the ovaries is getting attached to the abdominal wall by an important structure which is called as a mesovarium. So you should know the mesovarium is a structure which is connecting the ovaries to the abdominal wall, right? Now, the second structure will be this oviduct. So oviduct is technically called as a fallopian tube, and it is a muscular tube. It is about 10 to 12 centimeter. It is the one extending from the ovaries to the uterus. Okay, from ovaries to the uterus. So this is what a fallopian tube. Okay, so this fallopian tubes is the one divided into three important structure, that is called as the infundibulum, ampulla, and the isthmus. So as I have mentioned to you before, this infundibulum is called as the funnel shaped structure, and this funnel shaped structure, it is followed with the finger like projections, that is called as a fimbriae. Okay, what is the purpose of having this finger like structure called fimbriae? To collect all the ovum released by the ovaries. Okay, now ampulla will be the wider part. This is where exactly the fertilization is taking place. Okay, the fertilization will be taking place in the ampullary region. We can say that isthmus ampullary junction. Okay, ampullary isthmic junction. Okay, so where exactly the fertilization will be taking place. Now isthmus is the region opening into the uterus. Okay, all these structure were supported by the mesosalpine fence. Okay, so this is an important structure supporting the oviducts. Now, the third important structure will be the uterus. So this is considered as a womb, mother's womb. Okay, so large muscular pear-shaped organ. So this is the only shape. Okay, the pear shape is only present only in this uterus. Right now, it is situated between the bladder and the rectum. So it is supported by the mesometrium. Okay, so we have studied the mesovarium, which is attaching the structure to the abdominal wall. Okay, so attaching the ovaries to the abdominal wall by the mesovarium, and here it will be the mesometrium. It is supporting the uterus. Okay, so the lower narrow region in the cervix. Okay, so that is, we have studied this as a cervix. Okay, the narrow region is called as a cervix, and it is followed by the cervical canal. So the cervical canal plus vagina together we are calling the birth canal, where exactly the baby is coming out. So this is the pathway. Now wall of the uterus has three layers as I have explained you in the picture. So perimetrium is an outer layer which is very thin. Myometrium, it is a middle muscular layer. It is contracts strongly during the childbirth, and the hormone which is responsible for this contraction is nothing but an oxytocin. Okay, and here this muscle is nothing but a smooth muscle. Okay, naturally the smooth muscle has a capacity to contract. Okay, so and with the influence of this hormone it contracts more vigorously. Now endometrium. So the inner glandular lining undergoes the cyclic menstrual changes, site of implantation. During the menstrual cycle the tissues is getting degraded along with the blood flow. Okay, the tissues is also coming out along with the blood flow, and that tissues is nothing but an endometrial tissues. Okay, so it is also plays cyclic changes in the menstrual during the menstrual cycle, and it is also the important site for implantation during the pregnancy. Now, vaginal structure. So it is muscular fibroelastic tube extending from the cervix to the vestibule. Okay, so this is the structure which is extending from the cervix to the vestibule. Okay, so it is a pathway. Okay, so it is lined by a stratified squamous epithelium. It is highly vascular. Highly vascular means what? It have a blood capillaries, rich in the blood capillaries. And this vagina is acting as a copulatory organ. It is the forms the path of the birth canal. Okay, so this is an important structure for the delivery. Now, the external genitalia. So this external genitalia, this structure is called as a vulva. Okay, so what this vulva is exactly consist of? So I have mentioned you mons pubis. Mons pubis means what? Fatty tissue pad above the pubic bone. So there is a bone. This is called as a pubic bone. Okay, so this is called as a mons pubis. So there is a labia majora and labia minora. So the labia majora is nothing but outer fleshy folds. That fold-like structure is called as a labia majora, and labia minora is inner thin folds which is surrounding this vestibule. Okay, and the clitoris, it is a small erectile structure homologous to the penis. So in male we are calling the erectile structure as the penis, and in the female it is called as a clitoris. Now, hymen. See, hymen is the thin membrane partly covering the vaginal opening. So, this vaginal opening will be covered by this thin layer which is called as a hymen. Okay, and this vestibule has urethral opening. Okay, vestibule has a urethral opening. It is above the vestibule, and below it will having the vaginal orifice. So these are all the structure. It is considered as the external genitalia. Okay, so what are all the accessory glands? So accessory glands, we are having the Bartholin's glands and skin glands. So another important thing will be, see, in case of female it is called as a Bartholin's glands for lubrication only. So in the male, this Bartholin glands is considered as the bulbourethral glands. Okay. So in male, it is homologous to. Homologous means structurally it will be structurally and functionally it will be similar. Okay, structurally and functionally it will be similar. So that's what homologous to the bulbourethral glands, and it is mucus secretion. Okay, and Skene's gland. Skene's gland in female, and it is homologous to prostate gland in males. Okay, it is secrete the fluid near the urethra. So near the urethra it is secreting the fluid. Okay, so now the mammary glands. So the mammary glands is a modified sweat glands. Okay, so it is a modified sweat glands in the breast. Okay, so now each gland has, see, each gland is having how many lobes? 15 to 20 lobes like structure will be there. Each lobe we are having an alveoli, and this is the one responsible for milk secreting cells. So in the lungs also we are saying an alveoli, and here also we are saying an alveoli. Okay, so here it is meant for the milk secreting cells. There it is responsible for gaseous exchange. Okay, so the milk stored in the alveolar lumen. Okay, so the milk is stored in the lumen is nothing but a space. In all those space, the milk is getting stored. Okay, mammary tubules. Okay, so that is a tubules. See the lobes inside, many lobules together form the lobes, and many tubules together form the mammary ducts, and the duct is followed by a structure called ampullae. Ampullae is followed by this lactiferous duct, and finally it leads to the nipple where exactly the milk is ejected out. Now, it provides a nutrition and immunity to the infant. So this is an important. Now, so finally, this is an overall flow chart for the female reproductive system. So initially there is an ovary on both the sides. Okay, so infundibulum fimbriae. Fimbriae is a structure covering carry the ovum. Okay, so now all together they are forming the ampulla isthmus. Okay, so finally it leads to an uterus. Uterus leads to the cervix. Cervix to vagina. Finally, it ends with the external genitalia. So this is what the female reproductive system. Okay, now we are going to discuss about the male reproductive system of a man. Okay, so it is a male reproductive system. First one, it will be the primary sex organs. Okay, so primary sex organ is testis. So what will be the primary sex organs in case of female? It will be the ovum. Okay, that is the ovaries. Now, this testis is the one responsible for producing the sperm, and also it is secreting the hormone which is called as a testosterone. In case of female, ovaries is considered as a primary sex organ. Ovaries are responsible for producing the ovum, as well as they are responsible for secreting the hormone which is called as the estrogen and progesterone. Okay, so like in the same way, here it will be the testis producing the sperm, and also they are responsible for secreting the hormone called the testosterone. Now, accessory ducts. So epididymis, vas deferens, ejaculatory duct, urethra. So this is the store. The epidermis is the one storing the sperm, and all these were the transportation pathway also. Okay. Now the accessory glands. The accessory glands means seminal vesicles, prostate gland. So we have studied Skene's gland in females. It is homologous to prostate glands in males. Okay. So next here it will be the bulbourethral glands. So these are all adding the secretions to form the semen. Now glands, it is always secreting something. Now external genitalia, here it is considered as a penis. Okay, this is the copulatory organ, delivers the semen into the female tract. Okay, so this is the one delivering the semen to the female reproductive tract. Now what is testis? Okay, so it is the primary male sex organs. Okay, it is oval in structure, it is pinkish in nature, and it is located in the scrotum. Okay, so it is located in the scrotum, and so the reason important thing you have to understand that the normal human body temperature will be 36 to 37 degrees Celsius. Okay, so there is this is the temperature for the human body. Okay, now when it compares to the scrotum, scrotum means 2 to 2.5 degrees Celsius lower than the body temperature, which means it will be approximately 32 to 34 degrees Celsius. Okay, which means 34 to 35 degrees Celsius, we can also say like that. Okay, so it is will be why there is a low temperature is maintained in the scrotum. Why? Because see, the scrotum is considered as a pouch outside the body which is maintaining the temperature. Okay, only because in that low temperature the sperm has a capacity to survive. Okay, now it is covered by a layer which is called as a tunica albuginea, just like in the female. Okay, so each testis you need to know this. They are having the pair of testis. Okay, a pair of testis. Each testis they are having 250 lobules. Okay, so each testis they are having 250 lobules. Okay, so in each lobule, see, in each lobules they are having 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules. Just listen to me. Testis. Okay, in each testis they are having a lobules. How many lobules? 250 lobules. See, you are taking one lobule. In one lobule, human male have 1 to 3 seminiferous tubules. Okay, so what is the function of the seminiferous tubules? They are the one responsible for the production of the sperm. That is where exactly the spermatogenesis is taking place. Okay, spermatogenesis means what? Synthesis of the sperms. Okay. Now, it is lined by a spermatogonia and the Sertoli cells. See, spermatogonia is nothing but a sperm mother cell. Okay, the sperm mother cell is the one starting the spermatogenesis process. And also the Sertoli cells is present here. And what is the point of having the Sertoli cells? Okay, so what is the point of having the Sertoli cells? Sertoli cells is responsible for nourishing the sperm. Okay, so Sertoli cells provides the nourishment and secrete an hormone which is called as an inhibin hormone to stop the production of the sperm. Okay, so Leydig cells. So Leydig cells or Leydig cells, it is present in the interstitial space. The Leydig cells is the one responsible for secreting the hormone called the testosterone. Okay, so the male sex hormone. Okay, so now the seminiferous tubules altogether they are leads to the structure which is called as a reed testis, and the reed testis is giving the sperm to the vasa efferentia. Okay, now epididymis. So epididymis is look like the highly coiled tubule. Okay, it is present in the posterior side of the testis. And what is the function of this epididymis? It is storing the sperms temporarily. Okay, and the storing of sperms, why it has to store there? The sperm has to undergo a maturation process. While storing, they are maturing. Okay, so the storing and it helps in the maturation of the sperms. Where exactly it is happening? In the structure called as the epididymis. Okay, so this epididymis has three parts. One is caput, carpus and cauda. So these are all in three important structures present in the epididymis. Now, vas deferens. So this vas deferens is very long muscular duct arising from the epididymis. So from the epididymis it leads to the vas deferens. Right? So it passes through this inguinal canal into the abdomen. Okay, it is passed through inguinal canal into the abdomen. Now the joint ducts of seminal vesicles plus efferent vas deferens. Okay, seminal vesicles together with vas deferens, they are forming a duct which is called as an ejaculatory duct. So this ejaculatory duct, they made their way to the urethra. Okay, so urethra. Okay. Now, so this urethra is a common passage for urine and the semen. Okay, for urine and the semen, thus they are forming as a common pathway. But in case of female, it is not like that. Okay, so now it is open to outside at the urethral meatus at the tip of the penis. Now what is penis? So this is an external male genital organ. Okay, penis is considered as a external male genital organ, intromittent organ. So it is considered as an intromittent organ, which means what? This is the one transferring the sperm into the female vagina. So only then it meets the egg cell. So as a result, this leads to the fertilization. Okay, so this leads to pregnancy. Now, it composed of two corpora cavernosa. Okay, two corpora cavernosa. It is in the dorsal side, which means in the upper side, and one corpus spongiosum, that is in the ventral side, surrounds the urethra. So the tip enlarged as the glans penis covered by the purpose. Okay, so the tip, the penis, the tip is covered by the glans penis. It is covered by the purpose. That is a foreskin, just protecting the penis. Now, what will be the accessory glands? Okay, so the accessory glands means what? The seminal vesicles, prostate gland, bulbourethral gland. You have to know this bulbourethral gland. It is also called as the Cowper's glands. Okay, see the seminal vesicles. The seminal vesicles, this is alkaline in nature. The pH will be alkaline, and here it will be rich in the fructose. So another important point you have to keep in mind, it is not glucose, it is fructose. The fructose rich fluid, this is an energy source for the sperms. Okay, so in seminal vesicles they are secreting an alkaline fluid, so that fluid is nothing but a semen. Okay, now the prostate gland. This secretes slightly an acidic fluid. See, seminal vesicles, it is alkaline fluid. See, the pH is little bit above the 7. Okay, now in prostate gland, it is slightly acidic. It is activating the sperm. Okay, it is activating the sperm. 15 to 30% of the semen. Okay, 15 to 30% of the semen is considered as a sperm. Okay, now in the bulbourethral gland, that is the Cowper's glands, they are secreting the alkaline mucus. Again, it will be secreting the alkaline. Okay, the pH is little bit higher when compared to the secretions in the prostate gland. Now, for the lubrication and neutralizations, for also the neutralization of the urethra. So, urine is little bit acidic. Okay, so for the neutralization, this bulbourethral gland is helping. Now, so what is their function? For testes, it is producing the sperms as well as the hormone testosterone. Now, the ductus system for storage, maturation and transport of the sperms. Okay, accessory glands. So, accessory glands add secretion to the sperm, forming the semen. Okay, penis, this is the organ for the copulation, transferring the sperm to the female reproductive tract. So, these are all the functions of each and every structure. Okay, so this is what an overview of this male reproductive system. See, this urinary bladder followed by this prostate. So in the prostate, it is divided into two structure, which is the seminal vesicle and ejaculatory duct. Okay, so as I have mentioned you before, so this seminal vesicle and ejaculatory duct together form the vas deferens. Okay, now vas deferens, epididymis to testis, testis penis, and penis to finally it will be reached to the urethral meatus. Okay, so that's all about the male reproductive system. Okay, so in today's class we have completed the long answer questions in the excretion chapter as well as the reproduction chapter. Okay, we'll meet you in tomorrow's class. Thank you so much.